For the record, Thursday, October 12th, 2023, time for the regular meeting of Wenatchee City Council. As always, we start with the pledge to our flag. So, Councilmember Rojanostatian, would you lead us?
Yes, sir. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Rojanostatian. Roll call this evening. We have 6 council members present. Councilmember Huffaker, are you on the line? All right. Do we have any way of checking? Oh, we're connected to both? All right. So it looks like we have 6. If for some reason, Tammy, you see or hear something, let me know. Thank you. All right, so we have a full agenda this evening. Our first item is citizen comment, and for tonight's meeting, we have a number of action items, A through, my goodness, L. So if anybody wishes to comment on any of those items, this would be the time to do so, or something that's for the good of the order. We will accept public testimony during our public hearing regarding the Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan, which is, I'm sure, why you're all here tonight. So with that being said, anybody that wants to address the City Council would give you 3 minutes. We ask that you come up and give us your name and address for the record. And you can talk about anything that's on tonight's agenda, but Sam Mills cannot come up. So there's a... All right, Sam, come on up.
My name's Sam Mills, and I live at 1020 Appleland Drive in Wenatchee. My family has owned and operated a business and had maintained a commercial property in downtown Wenatchee at 10 South Wenatchee Avenue for 110 plus years. And in our business, we've certainly had situations where there's been a problem, somebody's broken a window, tried to stolen a leather jacket or some such thing. But in the last 2 weeks of September, my tenant, who we have been leasing to for the last 3 years, had not 1, not 2 display windows broken, e-bike stolen, attempted e-bike stolen, and then the third time they actually broke in through the front, by the front door, and got into the building and stole some other e-bikes. And I get things happen, and but 3 times in a week and a half is
now joining.
Is beyond the pale, I think. And I don't have any solutions for the problems. I mean, I'm just here to express my concern. I know the police department. I've had a great relationship with them for all my life, and they're doing the best job they can with the resources they have. I realize Wenatchee's changing, it's growing. But, some of the problems of growth probably are manifesting itself here. I just am concerned about this situation. These people have been emboldened. They've gotten away with it 3 times. They worry about other businesses being burglarized, and I just wanted to express my concern, and I appreciate the opportunity to do so.
Thank you, Sam. And I know our detectives are working on some leads, and they've got some stuff they're trying to work on. And so I wish I know they're trying super hard. And I know they've got some folks with regards to the stuff at the Arlberg. I don't know if they found that stuff yet. And I know they're working super hard for that. And it's just disappointing to us as it probably is to you, but thanks. Anybody else wish to address the City Council? Mr. Salmon, how was your workout today?
It was great. How was yours? We missed you today.
I did not work out. I rode the loop this morning.
Okay, good for you. I'm Mike Salmon. I live at 919 First Street here in Wenatchee. And I just want to expand a little bit on what Sam has said, that there's a lot of people that have put a lot of work into making our downtown core what it is today. We've got Pybus Market down there. We've got great shopping. We're very fortunate to have what we have downtown with the Performing Arts Center and all it has to offer. And there are some real concerns about hearing news of smash and grabs and businesses, and it happens. We know it does. And I certainly applaud the police for all the work that they're doing. They're doing what they can, but if there's anything that we as property owners or business owners can do to keep the people wanting to come downtown and not be afraid of walking a block and a half to the parking lot for fear of who or what they're going to run into, it's always a concern. So I just wanted to address that. Let's don't forget about it.
Yeah, all right, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, who else was addressed? Yeah, Rufus, come on up.
Good evening, Rufus Woods, 429 King Street, number 333 here in Wenatchee. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much I'm here as a private citizen today and as someone who tries to make this community a better place. The mayor and the council deserve a lot of credit. Over the last 12 years, this city's been transformed and for the better. And you guys deserve a tremendous amount of credit for the things that you've done and the tone you've set and the kind of leadership that have happened. Today, you're going to be asked to make a decision that's going to decide whether we're setting ourselves up for success for the next number of years. The council is going to be asked to appoint Laura Gloria as city administrator and provide employment contracts for key city leaders. These changes are absolutely the right logical steps for our community. They will lead to better long-term governance for the city, greater continuity and stability. I think we can all agree that Mayor Kuntz, in his long tenure, has served the city and the region with great distinction. His unassailable integrity, his vision, his courage, his willingness to take one for the team, and for example, in his actions are critical. He's never steered us wrong, and we are better off for it. So for stability and professionalism going forward, I think a city administrator is the right move. Laura Gloria is absolutely the right person for that job. She has proved to be a capable administrator, totally dedicated to this community, and I've had the opportunity to work with her, and I think she's just first rate. And she'll do a great job. Our department heads deserve a tremendous amount of credit. Giving them employment contracts that give them some degree of protection, absolutely the right thing for them to do. The potential exists, let's face it, under the city's current approach, for a future mayor to potentially wreak havoc in this city, throw his or her weight around, and for personal reasons, and disserve the community. And I think we need to do what we can to protect from that potentiality. Look around at other cities in the state, and you'll see some examples of ones where mayors went off the rails and created all kinds of havoc. So, council members, you've been tremendous stewards of this city's future. Thank you so much for all you've done. You've made a heck of a difference. I'm asking you to take one more step and set us up for success in the long term. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rufus. Appreciate it. Anybody else? Hi, Bart.
Hello. Well, thank you for your time, and I wanted, without going through all the details and things he talked about, but also just thank you what you've done. It's really amazing where we are. I don't know if it wasn't 20 years ago, but like that time when I was on the sustainability committee, and to be where we are. Pardon?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
To be where we are today versus where we were at that time is just amazing. And there's a lot of other things in the city that have taken place that are really important too. But I'm here to offer comments to the establishment of a new city position, the city administrator. As years pass, entities face additional and different challenges. The city is a great example. We have many new and bigger challenges: confluence, reimagined downtown, more complicated budgets, working with state officials, just to name a few. It gets more and more complicated as you go ahead in the times we're in. Because of this, providing the mayor some help with managing the 8 departments, to me, is necessary, hence the city administrator. The mayor will still be involved with these departments, but much of the detail involvement will be reduced. The mayor can then devote the time to the other growing challenges the city faces. Hence, I strongly favor the addition of the city administrator.
unknown participant is now joining.
Thanks, Bart. We've got Keith is trying to log in from
Okay.
Italy, so.
Did I give my name and address
Yeah.
and stuff?
Yeah.
Did I give the address too?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Bart.
Yeah, sure.
Mr. Maher, how are you today?
I'm doing good. Steve Maher, 1045 Monroe Street in Wenatchee, and I'm here today basically to concur with what Bart and Rufus just said. I've worked in the city here for different roles for a long time right now, and I get the sense the city's on the verge of some real greatness, and we need professionalism. We need to be able to go forward. There's a lot of projects that the city's involved in right now. You folks know what those are. You know, everything from Confluence Parkway to Reimagine Wenatchee to additional Riverside development, things going on in downtown, the foothills. There's just a lot of stuff going on, and so I think it's really, really important that we do have a city administrator. I think the time is now for that, and you know, I've shared this with others. There's really good things happening here in this community right now, and it's not always obvious to folks. But if you observe and kind of take things in, you'll notice that downtown is a buzz. I mean, there's things happening in downtown with people moving around that I haven't seen in 20 years, and so all that stuff. There's a lot of growth taking place here. I think it's really important that we move forward as professionally as possible. I've worked with Laura for about 4 years now. And found her to be extremely smart person, critical thinker. You know, she's very even keeled, which I think is really important for that kind of work. You know, sort of an intangible. You know, she's a role model for thousands of Latino kids. She's just done really good things here for us. And so, again, I would encourage you guys to create that city administrator job, plus also do the contracts for the other department heads.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Anybody else wish to address the council on any item that's on tonight's agenda or something different? Yes, sir.
Hi there, I'm James McLaughlin. My address is 2028 Center Court Drive, Wenatchee. As everybody knows, I did put my hat in the race to run for mayor, and unfortunately didn't get it through the primary. It's ironic I'm here. The special interest group spoke before me. Unlike those, I do see this city going in a direction where in the last 12 years, it's not going in the right direction. Frank, I think you're a great mayor, and I feel like the city administrator is a great position, but I think key KPIs, key point indicators need to be in place. I feel like the transparency and accountability is not there, and I feel like the council members need to step up and do their job. Keith Huffaker, he's away unfortunately today, but he seems to be always there asking questions. There's too much at stake. There's too many people calling me that are at their wits' end. Their bicycles stolen, handbags stolen. The police need more officers. The police aren't even responding to half the calls they get because they're trying to prioritize the crime. We are dealing with what I think is at least one new homeless person per day arriving in the city. I dare say anybody in these chambers knows what that true number is, and that needs to be addressed straight away. The crime, the mom and pop stores, they will disappear, and they are the backbone to the success of this country. And we, the people, need to stand up. We need to have in place a review, a special council to figure out what we're going to do. We can't keep on putting it off. The person that's coming up behind me has 2 businesses, doesn't even live in Wenatchee, and he's dealing with people that are, he'll tell you himself, but it's absolutely disgusting what's going on. And like I said, it's simple solutions. Closed circuit television cameras, giving the police more officers, giving them, making it that if homeless people come to this city, if they want to avail of our facilities, they get their identification just the way if you're an immigrant coming to this country. You have to give your identification. We'll instantly cut down on the amount of murderers, rapists, pedophiles that are roaming our streets, breaking into our stores, that we just release back into the street because we've got nowhere else to put them. So I think that we all have to come together. That's been my campaign promise, and work as a team, and seriously stop kicking this can down the road, because like I said, I don't think anybody in this room has any comprehension to the amount of homeless people or the level of crime that's happened in the last 2 years. And if you put homeless people in a disadvantaged area where other people are struggling to put food on their table, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to create a two-tier society, and it's in South Africa, it's in many other cities and countries around the world, and nothing good comes of it. So I'm here as a private citizen. I started this campaign for my kids. I really do implore all of you to take this under consideration. The KPIs are important because transparency and accountability is lacking. I've witnessed myself, but right now the homelessness and the crime is top priority. And as the mayor, I think that would be your biggest achievement if you could get something in place before your tenure is over. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James. Anybody else wish to address the city council? Yes, sir.
Hello, my name's Edwin Fonseca, and we have two family businesses here in town, 845 South Mission and 300 Stevens Street. So yeah, I was actually here a couple months ago, talking about the issue we were having south end of, town. And as a first person, in hand, experiencing every day, I come to tell you that it's gotten 10 times worse. No solution whatsoever. I actually still have, I'm accruing thousands of footages on my phone right now, videos of camera of people pooping, peeing in our, in our building, on our sidewalks, broad daylight. And just last week, I called the police officers. They got there. The gentleman was there, but he moved to the other building, and he knew he couldn't be trespassed. And all I got from the officers was like, hey, we can't do anything, even though you got him on camera. He peed in your garbage can. It's a small citation, but we can't do anything. He's now gone on the other side. So I was pretty disappointed because I think anybody here could agree that if somebody goes and poops and pees in your driveway on your garbage can, y'all wouldn't be happy. So that's when I was like, okay, this is getting out of hand. I've invited everybody to roam the streets with me at night, just like my employees do when they walk home. And the only people that have actually roamed around the streets with me have been Jose and Brian that I know from the, are here. And they can tell you that they're not clean. We have to clean poop every day and pee aside from a regular job. We get our wall tagged every other, week. And then just today too, I got a call from the code enforcement telling me that I had to bring down our flags at our burger place, flags that we brought to bring people into our business. I had to take them down because it's violating a code because of a sign code violation. And if I don't take them down or spread them 100 feet apart, they're going to fine me. So that's what was kind of like the cherry on top, So I get fined and I get in trouble for trying to bring people in our building, making it look nice and clean, and, putting a sign that says hot dogs and burgers. But yet somebody can put a camper in our sidewalk and just get away with it, or, litter and stuff. And it's gotten worse. Like I said, I feel free to show anybody the footages that I got on my phone from my Ring camera. There's no solutions. And again, I do want to thank, the police officers and you guys, because they do show up. And I know their hands are kind of tied too. There's sometimes things they can do. But I think there is bigger issues. We have another restaurant in Cashmere, and obviously Cashmere is a lot different than here, maybe because of the town size, obviously. And the comment that I get mostly now and saddens me is people drive to our Cashmere location and they say, we're going to eat at Cashmere because we avoid the south end of town now because of how bad it's gone. And that saddens me because that means that, my parents' restaurant, their future is at stake. Later on we'll have people who are not going to want to go there. And we saw that with Seattle. We saw with restaurants closing down, not because there was no business. It's because broken's their window, windows are broken, no one's safe anymore. And so I thought I'd just let you guys give it an update. And if there's anything I can do too, we're willing to work together.
Thanks,
So,
Edwin, and thanks for the comments. And I'm glad our police guys, showed up when they did. And I know their hands were somewhat tied as well, but appreciate you being here. Anybody else wish to address the city council? Got to be quick.
Hi. My name's Denise McBurney. I live at 930 Wheeler Hill Road, Wenatchee, and I spoke to you about a month ago in regards to my son and missing persons in general. His name's Travis Coleman, and I'm doing better today. Last time was really rough, you guys. I was coming here on his birthday. It was super hard. But I was here on September 14th speaking to you about Wenatchee's policy and procedures when it comes to handling missing persons cases and my son Travis Coleman, who has been missing from 1256 Montana Street since April 22nd, 2023. I want to thank you for reaching out to Chief Crown, as there is now a search scheduled for October 17th. We have met with Chief Crown, Captain Chance, and most recently, just a couple hours ago, with Sheriff Morrison and Chief Moody. Here's some details I just learned. Volunteers will be deployed on the 17th, some of them coming statewide. They'll be tentatively, because we're actually waiting for the State Emergency Management Center at Camp Murray to get back to Sheriff Morrison in regards to a grid map and some other things, but tentatively there'll be volunteers, canines, and drones, and air support will be moving them around. So I so appreciate that you guys did that and got that going. I am forever grateful. I also requested that I be added to the City Council's agenda to further discuss the Wenatchee Police Department's standard operating procedures and the response to missing persons cases. Here's just a few of the things that I wanted to address and receive clarification on, but there are many more in addition to these. 317.5 Endangered Missing Person Advisory. It appears it does not include a person of any age who is missing and endangered due to age, physical, or mental health, or severe weather conditions are not able to return to safety without assistance. 316.7.1 and RCW 68.50.320, when a person reported missing has not been found within 30 days of report. When I spoke with MUPU, which is the Washington State Patrol's Missing Persons Unit in Olympia, it seems this is misinterpreted and misunderstood from my conversations with the detectives. And so I wanted to check on that policy and RCW. Also, 316.1.1 provides guidance for handling missing persons investigations, and at-risk person is, and I have that, which I know you guys are in a hurry, so I won't go into it, but Travis did experience 7 out of 9 of these circumstances, which a person only needed to experience 1 or more to fall under the at-risk condition definitions. In addition, I would love to see Wenatchee PD follow a model similar to what was used in the recent missing person case in Douglas County, which begins with completing the missing persons worksheets, the search urgency chart, and the missing persons response plan. There is so much to review and improve on, and this is why I'm requesting to be added to a future agenda. I was told on September 14th that you would be in touch with me regarding my request, but I haven't heard back from any of you, and it's been almost a month, so I wanted to follow up. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Denise, and I'll just follow up with you. I mean, obviously, I knew there was a search coming up. I think it's this weekend.
Tuesday,
Yeah,
yeah.
Tuesday. So I knew that was coming. Chief's been reviewing our policy with the State Patrol to see if our policy meets the state requirements for what we're supposed to be doing in these instances. So he's been working with the State Patrol, have them review our policies to see if what we're doing meets the state guidelines or not. So he's been doing that research. I don't know that he's got a final answer on that yet. And then he'll bring policy changes to us if it appears that what our policies aren't either weren't followed or aren't part of the state or don't follow the state guidance. So we are working on that.
Okay, and so some of my other questions, who do I talk to Chief about them? The reason I'm here is because the guidance from the community brought me to you all because they told me that you were the ones that approved the policies and procedures. So if I'm supposed to, will you let me know how to navigate and how to get my questions answered?
Yeah, so I think at this point, we're reviewing them, and when we come up with this, what we think are the right answers, the chief will get a hold of you, and you guys can go through the policies together and
Okay.
figure out where they fit and don't fit, and then he'll make a recommendation to the council about what changes we should make or shouldn't make based on those conversations. But those policies sometimes take 6 months. Our sign code that Edwin talked about took 1.5 years to adapt. So these things don't change right away. Government works at the speed of a snail sometimes.
Okay.
This is one that's going to take some time.
Well, hopefully no one goes missing in the meantime, right?
The goal is to get the policy right. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Denise. All right, anybody else wish to address the city council? Yes, sir.
Wasn't expecting to come up, so I feel kind of blessed to be here tonight. Steve Wilkinson, 211 Sienna Road, Wenatchee. First of all, I want to start off, I'm a little nervous because I'm after Rufus, Bart, and Steve, so I didn't expect that tonight. So, City Administrator, I think that's a real vision. I think that you considering that is very, very innovative for this community. We're there. We need that. We need a mayor, the next mayor, to have the ability to focus on the vision, strategy, and leadership. And we need someone that can really be in the trenches managing. This community is growing, and so the city administrator really provides you that role and that responsibility. It sets up the mayor and the city council for greater success when you have someone that's your chief operating officer. So I would just recommend that as well. I think that's a very favorable position to bring here to to Wenatchee. As you know, I've been in front of many city councils around the country, and I just think the city of Wenatchee is special. And I thank you for your leadership. Homelessness, public safety is a big issue. It's something that the Chamber, Downtown Wenatchee Association, Our Valley, Our Future are working on. And we're working with you. We're working with other community leaders on these issues because we know that there is a need. We need to make improvements. But the city council has been at the lead. You led with the safe parks. You led with, can't think of the quite terminology, but to get the cars off the streets that have been sitting there 48 hours. That was you that did that. And we see a change. I've seen a change here. I've been downtown every day, down there by Top. Linda's down there. Mike's up above us, but it has changed. South Wenatchee, it needs some care. It needs some attention. It really does. There is a problem there, and we need to work in that area. We need to show that they have our attention, because a lot of attention is kind of on the north end. We need more attention down on the south end. And so I was really happy to hear someone say, we have an issue. I have a business member there in NAMI's. NAMI's kind of a protein shake area. I think it's down by, I think it's right next to your business as well. And she tells me stories all the time, and cleaning up every morning. And in fact, when I go there to get my protein shake, there's typically some homeless people around there. And she says it's scaring away my customers. And so she's looking at the north side. And I'm thinking, why is she moving to the north side? She should be able to move and be in the south side and have as much feeling of safety, consideration of her business, and being able to welcome people to her business. So I do thank you for your efforts. I appreciate your collaboration, your partnership, the Chamber, Our Valley, Our Future, the Downtown Association, all working hard on these issues. And we just thank you for your participation.
Thanks, Steve, appreciate it. All right, anybody else wish to address the council? Seeing no additional takers, we will move on to our regular agenda tonight. The first item is our consent agenda, which would include approving tonight's agenda, the vouchers and the previous meetings, and some work completed, and appointing 2 folks to the Parks and Rec Board.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion that we adopt the consent items consisting of this evening's agenda, vouchers and minutes from previous meetings. This motion includes for the City Council to accept work completed by the contractor, Pipkin Construction, for the Walla Walla Avenue Stormwater Retrofit and Paving Project, City Project Number 2008, and authorize the mayor to sign the final contract voucher on behalf of the City of Wenatchee. This motion includes for the council to approve Resolution 2023-22, reappointing Darcy Mattiota to position 3 of the Arts, Recreation, and Parks Commission with a term expiring December 31, 2026, and to approve resolution number 2023-24, reappointing Casey Koski to position 2 of the Arts, Recreation, and Parks Commission with a term ending December 31, 2026.
Second. Motion by Councilmember Kulas, second by Councilmember Hornby to adopt this evening's consent items, including the agenda, vouchers, and minutes meetings. Also to accept the work completed by the contractor Pipkin Construction for the Walla Walla Avenue Stormwater Retrofit and Paving Project, City Project number 2008, and authorize the mayor to sign the final contract voucher on behalf of the city. And to adopt Resolution 2023-22, reappointing Darcy Mattiota to position 3 of the Arts, Recreation, and Parks Commission, with a term expiring December 31st, 2026. And to adopt Resolution 2023-24, reappointing Casey Koski to position 2 of the Arts, Recreation, and Parks Commission, with a term expiring December 31st, 2026. Discussion. Anybody have any discussion regarding the agenda for this evening? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Action items. We have a number of action items tonight. We'll get through them as quickly as we can. The first is regarding some bid alternatives for the city pool project. David Erickson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Dave Erickson, Parks and Recreation Director for the city. So the first item I have tonight is requesting approval of the change order, which is actually a bid, alternate item number 2 for the pool project. So last October, the pool project was put out to bid. The bid package included base bid and 2 alternatives. Basically, the base bid included everything within the pool shell itself. So the piping, the tile, the plaster, the ladders, all that stuff that's kind of in the pool itself. Then we had two different bid alternate items for the area that connects the pool to the mechanical room in the building itself. And that we weren't able to determine which alternative was going to be the best way to go until we actually did the demolition of the pool, because of the way the pipes were located and the bends under the pool deck. So best case scenario was alternate 1, do nothing. The pipes were in great shape. We didn't have to touch them. Pool was built in 1965, so we were hoping for the best, but not likely. The second option was to line the pipes if they were in good enough condition that we could run a PVC liner within those. And then the third one was to take out a portion of the pool deck and remove the pipes and replace them. So once we did the demolition, that was done here maybe about 3 weeks ago. They were able to see the pipes. I put a couple pictures of them in your agenda report. They're not in great shape, which is sort of what we anticipated. So after we reviewed that, we were recommending then award of bid alternate number 2 in the amount of $118,920. We currently have $165,180 in the budget to account for this. So when we did the initial approval, we anticipated the worst, hoping for the best, and that's sort of where we ended up.
And our goal here is, this will help like 10 years?
Yeah, at least 10.
That's
So the original piping that we're replacing was put in 1965. The pool liner, the plaster portion, and the tiles were put in 1996. So I would think we will get at least 10 years
Listen,
out
you're
of
getting a
them.
new engine and a new transmission, right? I mean,
Yeah.
hopefully the thing lasts a little bit longer than that, but that was.
Exactly. So we're under construction. Piping is underway right now, hoping to have this first phase done mid-November before the weather turns, and then it'll pick back up again in the spring, in April before we have to fill and get
Are
ready.
you timing to open up the pool in normal time next summer?
Yep, yeah, second week of May for Velocity to jump in. That's the goal.
Well, Mayor, I'm going to make a motion for the city council to approve change order number 1 with the pool company for bid alternative 2 for the city pool project.
Second. Motion by Councilmember Poyer, second by Councilmember Hornby to approve change order number 1 with the pool company, interesting name, for bid alternate 2 for the city pool project. Any discussion?
I would hope that none of our arteries look like these pictures.
I agree, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
All right. That being said, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And I think you're up again with the Parks Open Space Comp Plan.
Yeah, so this
Fill us
item.
in.
We're requesting approval of Resolution 2023-25, which would adopt our 2024 through 2030 Parks, Recreation, Open Space Comprehensive Plan. A little bit about the plan. So this is a current update, or an update of our current comprehensive plan. It's required by the state to be eligible for a variety of recreation, habitat, open space grants, as well as other grant programs that are out there. So we're required to have this. We actually started the update process December of last year. We've had 11 public meetings on this. We reviewed all the other current planning processes that were out there in the community. We promoted the process through TV, radio, social media, newspaper, electronic media. We presented it at service club meetings and sent it out to user groups. We also did a community survey too, to get additional information to update this. The plan is broken into several chapters that are prescribed by the state. So the state requires us to have these particular chapters. So that's introduction, planning area description, which tells you about the valley, existing facilities. So that's everything that is currently out there. The demand and need analysis, that's where we incorporate the items from the community surveys and the other planning efforts. The guiding framework is the goals and objectives. That's kind of the meat and potatoes. And then the implementation section, which is really the capital facilities portion of it. This plan we actually have also wrapped in our cemetery strategic plan, which is new because we adopted that in between the last plan and the current plan. And we also updated our arts section because that's also a new piece that wasn't in our last one. Not really any huge big surprises in the plan. So trails are really popular. Deficiencies are neighborhood parks and as well as funding to provide those. So not really anything super surprising on those. Part of the review process, we sent this off to the state for the preliminary review, and they said it was great. They had no problem adopting it in the preliminary form, so we feel pretty good about that. We also reviewed this at a planning commission meeting, and then also the Arts Rec and Park Commission unanimously recommended approval of it at their last meeting. So if you move to approve it and it's adopted, then we have some additional paperwork that we have to fill out on the state side of things. We send it off to the state, and then they do another final approval as well.
So all the money we get, RCO grants, money for Lincoln Park, Madhow Park, all that stuff that comes through state grants, they're not eligible unless you have a comp plan.
Correct.
And did your staff write this, or did you hire consultants to write this?
No, I did the authoring of this plan.
Okay, that's what I thought the answer was going to be. I just wanted the rest of the council to know.
I think it should be noted that you do an unbelievable job, how many grants you get for this city. It's incredible. How often do we have to do this plan?
This plan's every 6 years. I'm in negotiations right now. There's some new state policy changes that we're trying to be able to have this plan last a little longer than 6 years. And so it seems pretty favorable at this point that we might get an extension and not have to do it at the next 6-year time period. But it's also important to keep in mind that you want to watch the community too. And if the community has amazing changes over that time period, you're going to want to update that plan anyway so it's current.
All right, any questions for David? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I'll move for City Council to approve resolution number 2023-25, adopting the 2024 to 2030 Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Comprehensive Plan.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Wojciechowski, second by Councilmember Harold, to approve resolution 2023-25, adopting the 2024 through 2030 Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Comp Plan. Any discussion?
Not a discussion, just a couple of talking points. It's a very impressive, everything that we have upgraded and have done for our community. Second piece of that too is we struggle with homeless, destroying, vandalism almost on a daily basis that our police department is called in on. So we feel this at the city level as well as the public. So it is a focus of ours. But great job, David. This is amazing, the facilities that we have for our community. So thanks.
Any other comments? Hearing none.
I just wanted to echo what several of the people have said. Dave, you do a fantastic job. We really appreciate this. It was difficult to get through on my phone, but I know you always do a fantastic job with our comp plans and our grants. So thank you for all your efforts.
Thanks, Keith.
All right, anybody else? All right, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
So we can't hear from Mike and Jessica because I'm tired of this, so I heard you can't leave. Mike?
Apparently not.
Yeah, every time he takes a day off, something else happens down
Nope,
there.
there's a good crew down there.
I know, but it's just the timing of,
Timing's-
seems to happen.
It's interesting.
All right, what's going on today?
Well, good evening, Jessica Shaw, Deputy Public Works Director.
Mike Hodgson, the wastewater treatment plant supervisor.
So, as the mayor implied, we've had some equipment issues over the past week. And prior to that, in September, we had to declare an emergency for a repair of our primary effluent line at the wastewater treatment plant. I'll let Mike talk a little bit about that because he's more familiar. I'm more familiar with some of the problems we've had the last few days while he was out. So just to give you a quick update, you know, our wastewater treatment plant is pretty important. It takes all of that wastewater and turns it into clean water and fertilizer, but there's also a lot of equipment down there to make those things happen. And a lot of this equipment is in varying stages and ages, and so we've been working really hard on projects of all sizes to try and get this equipment repaired in a timely manner, but unfortunately things still break. So good news is that some of the equipment that broke on Friday night are blowers. We've got that replaced. We have a capital project that's already in the works, already been approved for bid. We're just waiting for parts to come in. So anticipate replacing that equipment sometime next year, but for now, everything's up and running. So the plant, actually, we got through all of these emergencies. The other emergency was on Saturday night. We lost our boiler, which heats our digesters. But thankfully, staff, as Mike said, we have some excellent staff at the treatment plant. They responded, they kept the plant operational. We were able to implement an emergency process of bringing in a backup boiler. So while we can make repairs to the existing one, so at this point in time, we'll probably be back to talk with you more about what our next steps are, but the plant's running well. We didn't have any violations. Everything actually ran just fine, thanks to having some great staff on board to keep things going.
And so we have emergency people that went down on Saturday and worked Saturday night and
We do.
Sunday, number
Yeah.
of our staff people.
Yeah, we have staff on call
So just so
24/7.
council knows, 24
Yeah.
hours a day,
Mhm.
7 days a week, 365 days a year. We got
Correct.
people on call to get called out when these emergencies happen or a water line breaks or anything like that happens, so.
Yes, yep, we're taking care of it.
Do we have any estimated numbers?
Mike can give you some estimated numbers for the primary effluent line repair. We don't yet have them for the boiler. We're waiting for some information back from vendors, but we'll follow up with you at the next committee meeting to let you know where we're at with those numbers, so.
So I see 1, 2, 3 items on our agenda tonight. So the first one is we're gonna declare the emergency and then we're gonna do some contracts?
Correct.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm a little hoarse. For this emergency resolution for the primary effluent line, we've brought in bypass pumps because this is 500 feet of a 36-inch pipe. We have backup pumps, and then we have even emergency backup pumps. So this system will not fail. It has a call-out system operated off floats. We have a contract with Allied Trenchless to line the pipe. We have structures on site, 84-inch manholes ready to go down over the bends in the pipe, 190 and a 45. That's about $250,000. We're gonna probably spend $125,000 on pump rental and maintenance and diesel and fuel. Probably close to $525,000 for Apollo's contract to actually do the work, to excavate the areas and put it all back together. There's a 60-foot piece of pipe that has about a 14-inch sag that we send a camera.
So we're at about 1,900,000 to 1,000,000
We're hoping to keep it under $1 million.
Yeah, about 900 would be my.
And we don't see it from the street because it's actually on the plant side
It's
of
in the plant, just inside the fence.
Okay.
Very, very tight quarters.
All right, any questions for Mike and Jessica? I know they've been working their tail off and as soon as seems like they get 2 steps forward and 1 step back every so often, but thanks for your work and I know we'll get this fixed and a year from now, we'll have a new digester and a bunch of new things down there and we can go celebrate.
Yes.
Right now, we're just trying to keep it all rolling. So I guess with item C, I would entertain a motion for the,
Your Honor, I'd make a motion for the city council to approve resolution number 2023-23 regarding wastewater treatment plant primary effluent pipe emergency and authorize the mayor's signature.
Second.
motion by Councilmember Kular, second by Councilmember Ojanastatian, to adopt resolution 2023-23 regarding the wastewater treatment plant primary effluent pipe emergency and authorize the mayor's signature. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, replacement.
Yeah, this is, the plant has 6 influent pumps. 4 run on demand as needed depending on the flow during the day. 2 are emergency backups in case there's a major storm event. The city replaced pumps 1 and 2, I believe in 2009. And so pumps 3 and 4 are needed to be replaced now. And the city's already procured the pumps, they're on site. We sent a small works roster out for basically install-only bid, labor only, and we received 3 bids, $165,000, $160,000, and the low bidder's $145,000. My budget was $140,000, so it wasn't too far off. And this is funded strictly from the wastewater treatment plant budget, and it's an annual reoccurring budget
So
item.
this is the contract to hire the people to install them.
Correct.
And I'll add, this is our efforts to be proactive so that this doesn't become an emergency project. So these are some of the small works activities that Mike is,
Where those
Yeah.
pumps are located, nightmares are.
but soon those nightmares will be over, so.
Well, it's Halloween. We should try to get rid of some nightmares.
Come on down, guys.
All right, I'd entertain a motion if we had one.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion for the city council to award the construction contract for the wastewater treatment plant influent pump replacement project number SW2301 for the lowest responsive bidder and authorize the mayor to sign the contract documents.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Hornby, second by Councilmember Cuevas, I think. Was it Jose?
Yes, sir.
To award the construction contract for the wastewater treatment plant influent pump replacement, project number SW2301 to the lowest responsive bidder, and authorize the mayor to sign the contract documents. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank
And your
you.
third and final item, maybe? Oh, this is
That's
Jeremy.
Jeremy.
Thank you.
Mike, thanks so much. Hope you're feeling better. Thanks, Jessica. Mr. Jeremy, how are you today?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Jeremy Hoover, Senior Utility Engineer. I'm here to talk about the wastewater treatment plant, specifically the digester number 4 project. As you're aware, we've been under construction for about 1.5 years, a little more than that. We have had several change orders associated with various items throughout the construction project. I have change order number 7 in front of you. There are several items associated with this, 9 items in total. The items of interest are the emergency backup generator receptacle. We had to relocate it as part of the construction from the original design location. The hoist system, there was a little bit of a modification that needed to happen due to some conflicts with a precast beam that was installed. The gas piping layout needed to be changed. Some of the connection points were a little bit off. And in order to have new pipe fit in the correct corridor going over to the flare, we need to do a little bit of revision to the design on that. The polymer injection system was originally intended to go directly into the flocculation tank, and the vendor suggested that we actually take it into the pipe before it hits the tank. So that's one of the modifications. The sludge piping had to be rerouted a little bit, both the primary and the waste activated sludge. We found a little bit better of a corridor that fit the geometry of the existing solids handling building in a little bit more of an efficient manner. Cost a little bit more, but over the long term, it's going to be a better corridor for that piping. There were some power lines that needed to be installed, some additional conduits and conductors, just because of some field modifications that had to be made to be able to fit things around some of the existing pipe. The overhead door power for the new mechanical building, there's basically a garage type door. We had to change some of the power configuration on that. And the digester 1 access hatch is also included in this change order. The access hatch is a hole, basically a hole on the side of the digester that will allow us to clean it out. You just take the cap off after you drain it and pull everything out. That was already been installed before the previous change order that you saw, change order 6, which was an emergency repair to the digester number 1 that Apollo performed under the digester 4 contract. So that's a long-winded way of asking for $156,655.97 for the change order.
So Jeremy, I agreed with everything in your analysis there, except for the location of flocculation pipe. I think that needs to be moved.
I can show you where it's at if you'd like to come down to the plant.
Thank you, Jeremy.
And I get confused because we're doing so many emergency repairs down there that I forget that this is a change order to what we
This
started a year
flocculation
ago.
pipe needs to
Yeah.
move. Like, I don't agree with that.
All right, thanks, Jeremy. I entertain a motion from the council.
Your Honor, I move for City Council to amend the construction contracts with Apollo Incorporated to pay for the additional work and further authorize the mayor to approve the construction change order amount of $156,655.97.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Harold, second by Councilmember Hornby to amend the construction contract with Apollo Inc. to pay for the additional work and perform and further authorize the mayor to approve the construction change order in the amount of $156,655.97. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank you.
Jeremy. Thank you for all your work. All right, Zach Horton, what are we doing today? Looks like you're up, sir. Luminaires
Good evening,
and
City
Bridge.
Council. I just want to take a second and ask, did a bid tab get circulated to you guys sometime
Yes.
today? Okay. I'm here today to request that you guys motion to award the construction contract for the 2024 damaged luminaire replacement project. And I'm going to modify the language here to the one bid we received, which was Elite Contracting, doing business as Elite Electrical. And authorize the mayor to sign the contract documents. The background behind this is over the last couple years, several luminaires were smacked by cars and the foundation has to be replaced, and it's beyond the scope of our crew's abilities.
A street light?
Yeah,
Thank you.
did I?
Luminaires are very complicated.
Okay,
word for
sorry.
me. Street lights, I understand.
Okay, street light. And so we bundled a bunch of these things together and put it out to our Small Works roster to have them all repaired at once. And it's been kicking around for a little while. We have a number of active claims with insurance to recover some of the money for this. And so I'll open it to you guys if you have any further questions.
Any questions for Zach? If not, I would
Do
entertain
you
a
have
motion.
an estimate of how much is covered by insurance versus what out of pocket?
I believe it's all
I mean,
coming.
These are all, sounds like these were all damages from accidents and things like that.
Yeah, I believe the project will be completely funded through our self-insurance fund. So whatever we recover from people who had insurance during the accident will go back into that fund. So there may be a discrepancy there, but I don't have an actual estimate on how much the shortfall would be between what we can recover and what the self-insurance fund would pick up. The cost would be recovered after the job's complete.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any questions for Zach? If not, I entertain a motion, and I think Top has the one that's got the right contractor's name in it.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion for City Council to award the construction contract for the 2024 damaged luminaire replacement project, city project number SW22-02 to Elite Electrical Contracting in the amount, and authorize the mayor to sign the contract, in the amount of $241,800 and authorize the mayor to sign the contract documents.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Ojanastati and second by Councilmember Hornby to award the construction contract for the 2024 damaged luminaire replacement project, city project number SW2202 to Elite Electrical Contracting in the amount of $241,800 and authorize the mayor to sign the contract documents. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And the Canal Bridge, Mr. Zach.
Yeah, so a little bit bigger one here. Some background, we had the Millardale Ave Canal Bridge inspected in 2022. Found the bridge deck condition to be very poor. Subsequently, maybe it was prior to this, the bridge is load posted for single unit vehicles, and we applied for funding to rehabilitate the bridge and received funding in 2022 in the amount of about $1.2 million, with the intent to just replace the superstructure of the bridge. So we advertised to hire a consultant to help us do this design for this project, and through the course of those negotiations, after we selected a consultant, we ascertained that the bridge is actually in worse condition than anticipated. So we lobbied with the local bridge program to revise the scope to full replacement and receive additional funding. And they did grant that scope revision and additional funding to the tune of about $500,000. They granted additional funding for the design because we had a shortfall in the design portion for actually delivering it, even on the rehab project. There's just a significant amount of geotechnical investigation that would have to take place to actually rehab the substructure that's there. So ultimately, we were successful in getting the funding we needed, and we're hoping to request a motion for you guys to authorize the mayor to negotiate further with KPG Somas. They're the consultant that we selected and have been working with up to this point to receive this additional funding and do a full replacement, and then authorize the mayor to sign a contract with them. And I would turn it to you guys if you have any questions for me.
Any questions for Zach? The finance committee did see this, and the drawing that's on page 328 of your packet is the one that sort of outlines what the proposed plan is.
Maybe I missed it. Is the weight load increase on this, is it single load, or were you able to increase that with the new bridge?
So if we replace the bridge, the load posting would go away, so it'd no longer be restricted for certain single unit vehicles.
Okay. I promised Zach a question about the sidewalks today.
Maybe you overcommitted.
Or maybe I did.
What's next?
Zach, why do the sidewalks stop in middle of somebody's property?
Because the project is meant to fix the bridge condition, and our funding only stretches so far. So the goal is for the bridge to be set up for future connection with potentially another project that'll complete these gaps in the sidewalk. Currently, the bridge only has a walkway width of 3'8", which isn't compliant with the ADA requirements. So this new bridge would actually have a walkway width that would be compliant and a bunch of connections, so it wouldn't just drop you off into the middle of nowhere like it does now, although the nowhere is moved out a little further away. But in the future, hopefully we would connect it with another project, or potentially, if the option reveals itself, incorporate it into this project and deliver on them at the same time.
What's the time frame? Because do you have to make sure you're doing this when there's no water, or how does that work?
That's correct. So we'll have to coordinate with Wenatchee Reclamation District and make sure we're doing the construction work outside of irrigation season. The canal will have to be empty. So this will take place between October and March of 2025.
2025, yeah.
But most likely they'll form it some
Will
other
this-
place and drop it in, right? Latest
Will
form.
this be similar construction to the one they did at the top of Maple Street?
That's an option we're considering. We actually need to do an alternative analysis with the consultant and come up with the best solution that's available. We're hoping that maybe we can shorten the span of the bridge and actually declassify it as a bridge. Because currently we have to do annual inspections because it exceeds the span length that makes it classified in our bridge inventory.
And you're gonna look at perhaps some city funding to make the sidewalks go all the way down to Lambert Street on both sides of the street, if we can think about that.
Yeah, if we can find a way.
Okay. All right, any other questions for Zach? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion for the city council to authorize the mayor to negotiate with KPG Pomas for the design services for the Millardale Avenue Canal Bridge City Project number 2213, and authorize the mayor to sign the contract on behalf of the city pending WashDOT
Do we need
Concurrent.
washdot
Oh,
concurrence?
sorry, please strike that language. They
do
don't
not
need to
need-
review it.
We do not need WashDOT.
Okay. Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Hornby, second by Councilmember Poyer for the council to authorize the mayor to negotiate with KPG Samas for design services for the Millerdor Avenue Canal Bridge City Project 2213 and authorize the mayor to sign the contract on behalf of the city of Wenatchee. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Zach. Thanks for
Thank
being
you,
here
guys.
tonight. Aaron Kelly, sidewalk panel replacement. Oh, you look like Rob Jammerman.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yeah, we let Aaron take the rest of the night off, so I told him I'd cover this for him. Before I do this, I wanted to, again, going back to the sewer work that Jessica and Mike were here on, I wanted to compliment the council for the continued support of our utilities. As most of you know, I sit on the Public Works Board, and on almost a weekly basis, there are communities coming to the Public Works Board that have not put money aside to plan for things like this, these rainy day funds. And so by your support over the last few years of adopting a 6% rate increase, we have the money we need to be able to undertake these repairs, even in emergency cases. I wanted to really compliment you for that and for your continued support of the utilities. On to this matter. We're requesting that the council, a motion from the council to award a construction contract for sidewalk panel replacement project, number SW22-06 to JM Pacific Construction in the amount of $169,934 and authorize the mayor to sign the contract. Aaron wanted me to mention these few things about the project. It'll replace 132 sidewalk panels that are beyond grinding, so they're tripping hazard. We'll replace that. It'll complete 6 sidewalk gaps that council members had asked to be fixed, and 5 new ADA ramps. As I said, we've received the one bid from JM Pacific for just under $170,000. The project's funded through CBDG funds and general funds that we requested in 2023. And if awarded, the notice to proceed will be given tomorrow with the intention of trying to complete this work before the winter snow comes. Aaron also asked me to mention that the money that you have given us in the past for this ongoing sidewalk project, just last year, when we have the precision concrete contractors coming in, they ground to over 2,000 tripping hazards in the city this last year in just 2023, and we did it in 22. And so again, thank you for the support of this program. It's done a tremendous amount for our infrastructure. So, any questions?
So we think concrete season's gonna last for how much longer?
6 to 8 weeks.
Gonna be pouring in November, huh? All right, any questions for Rob? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I move for City Council to award the construction contract for the sidewalk panel replacement project number SW22-06 to JM Pacific Construction LLC in the amount of $169,934 and authorize the mayor to sign the contract documents.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Harold, second by Councilmember Cuevas, to award the construction contract for the sidewalk panel replacement project number SW2206 to JM Pacific Construction LLC in the amount of $169,934 and authorize the mayor to sign the contract documents. Any discussion?
Just one question, does
I
this?
just wanted to say,
Oh.
Rob, if you could pass on to Aaron, this has been a really successful project. If you walk down sidewalks that have had those repairs done, the tripping hazard has really been reduced. It's great. I'm hoping we can continue to do this and eliminate all tripping hazards in Wenatchee.
I will pass that along.
Does this include that really bad sidewalk right down there on Wenatchee Avenue by the Buzz Inn? Just out of curiosity.
That is not. We are primarily focused on residential areas,
Okay.
and then we're working with the commercial property owners on a case-by-case basis. But I know
Okay.
what you're talking about, and we're
Yeah.
working on that.
Okay, thanks.
I just had a quick, what makes, what is the threshold for a tripping hazard? that-
Per ADA standards, it's anything greater than 1/4 inch.
Thank you. But yeah, I've noticed you guys did a great job, even like downtown, I've seen the grinding and it's really noticeable.
And our insurance authority thanks us as well.
Yes. All right. No other discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Rob. Guardrail replacement project, Donald Nelson, Ryan Harmon, we're getting double teamed today. This is for the guardrail just below the top of Skyline Drive.
My section will be brief. Good evening, Mayor and Council.
I'm sorry, that's still yours?
I'm Ryan Harmon, Engineering Services Manager, and while I'm no less impressed with the work that Zach and Jeremy are doing, I wanted to take a second to reintroduce Donald to everybody. He's been with us for 15 years, primarily in our development review, but we were able to steal him over to our capital project side. And so with that, I'll let Donald take it away.
All right, Donald.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This project, it has two components to it. One of them is the missing guardrail on a segment that's just downhill of our view area along Skyline Drive. There's a curve coming up the hill and there's a drop off. And so that owner asked us to fix that and make it safer for vehicles. But early this year, a vehicle inadvertently fell off the road after hitting a guardrail and it's broke. And so that happened on North Road, right where the irrigation canal opens up and starts to flow, gravity flow. According to the police report, that car was clear down in the canal. Fortunately, it was February when there was no water there. But so that project got added to this project so that we could get both of these taken care of while the crew is here in town.
Is this something they plan on doing this fall or next spring?
I was hoping that they'd start in a week.
Okay.
Hopefully on the 23rd. The irrigation canal won't let us be on their site until after November 1st. But there's plenty of time to
Do the other stuff.
start at the other location. There's some trees that need to be removed that are too close to the edge of the road. So there's some prep work that they're going to do before they actually install the guardrails. The cost of the project went up from what we thought it would be, and what we discovered was that the soil on this side of the road is really loose, and consequently for the functionality of a guardrail, the posts have to be longer and they have to be closer spaced. And that basically tripled the cost than what we thought it would be from a year or two ago. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions for Donald? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I move for City Council to award the construction contract for guardrail replacement project, City Project Number SW23-06, to the lowest responsive bidder and authorize the mayor to sign the contract documents.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Harold, second by Councilmember Rojanostatian, to award the construction contract for the guardrail replacement project number SW2306 to the lowest responsive bidder and authorize the mayor to sign the contract documents. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Donald. Thanks, Ryan. South Wenatchee Corridor Study, Emma/Rob.
I owe the capital groups. I said I would present this for Emma. We're asking that a motion by the city council authorize the mayor to negotiate with Fair and Peers for services of the South Wenatchee Avenue Corridor Study, City Project 2405, and authorize the mayor to sign the contract. For those of you that recall, this was a budget request, $100,000 to begin the study for the South Wenatchee Corridor Study, also known as the South Wenatchee Avenue Road Diet. And so the goal of this project is to study from Kittitas to the south end of down to the George Seller Bridge and come up with some design or a preferred design alternative to change that street from a 2-lane road in each direction to a more urban collector that has pedestrian amenities, bicycle improvements, et cetera. We're going to be having a broad outreach with the community to get their preference, and then that will have, once we have that done, then we'll be able to start applying for grants. We've heard from the TIB board that if and when we get this done, they like road diet projects like this, so we think it will do pretty well scoring in that grant program. So anyway, it's a project that I'm personally very excited about. I've noticed ever since I arrived here, South Wenatchee, as we heard earlier, it needs some care. And when we go in and do street improvements like this, if we land a grant, we just see a real flourish in the businesses when we kind of rebuild those improvements. So any questions from the council?
I just want to comment that this is finally going to happen. Business owners were anxious to see what was going to get done, and thank you. I just wanted to say that.
And make sure the business owners stay involved in meeting with fair and peers to figure out what it is they want down there, so that we're building something that the community wants.
Yep.
All right, any questions for Rob? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion for the city council to authorize the mayor to negotiate with Fair and Peers for the service of the South Wenatchee Avenue Corridor Study, city project number 2405, and authorize the mayor to sign the contract on behalf of the city.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Hornby, second by Councilmember Cuevas, to authorize the mayor to negotiate with Fair and Peers for services for the South Avenue Corridor Study, city project 2405, and authorize the mayor to sign a contract on behalf of the city of Wenatchee. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Council members, at 6:26, your pleasure to keep going or take a break? We've got two sort of major items and a public hearing. I'm fine either way. You all doing good?
Power on.
Power on. All right. All right, so we have two items that will be presented by the city attorney, item K and item L. L are employment contracts for our 8 department heads. K has changes to our city code and appoints a city administrator and does a few other small changes as well. So Danielle, I'll turn over to Danielle. I asked Danielle to draft these on behalf of the city. I thought these were needed changes. I've talked with all of you about them at different various times. I think it's been around for quite a little while. So Danielle, I'll turn it over to you, and then we'll turn it over to the council for questions and comments.
Thank you. Good evening, council and mayor. Danielle Marchant, city attorney. There are before you 3 separate ordinances. They're all kind of interrelated, but they cover separate topic areas. The first ordinance is 2312. That primarily deals with Title I in terms of city departments and city personnel. I think the mayor is trying to leave the city code in a better place than when he found it. Upon review of Title I, there were certain provisions in the code that conflicted with each other. There were certain provisions that were a bit unclear. There were certain provisions that needed updating. And so this first ordinance does that. During the public comment, you heard a lot about city administrator, but city administrator is not a new position. It's been a position within the city since about 1995. In about 2005, executive services director kind of popped up, and they had overlapping duties. The current executive services director duties cover about 70% of the city administrator duties. And so it's basically Laura just taking on those extra 30% duties that are already outlined in the code for the city administrator. Most of the provisions in Title I that we're changing are just showing to get rid of the executive services director because of that duplicative position and changing any reference to executive services director to the city administrator. So are there any questions regarding that first ordinance?
Sure. Did you say in 1995 we already had a city administrator?
That position was created in 95.
But nobody filled that position.
It was filled, and
For a couple
then,
different people.
Okay, yeah, I'm just trying to get the history.
yeah, it was
Okay.
filled.
I think Gary Tomzik was that for a while, and I think maybe even Rich Brinkman for a little while.
Rich Brinkman, it's my understanding, was the last city administrator.
So it's 1995 to 2005, and then we changed that?
Well, it's kind of difficult to say when you changed it. It
Yeah.
just kind of morphed. And now we're trying to clean it up so that there's not this overlapping duties between those two positions.
But we only paid for one this whole time.
Correct, because the city administrator position essentially remained vacant.
I believe, Mike, I believe it changed when Rich Brinkman left and Allison Williams came on board.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I was there.
I believe it, Mark.
There's also some other cleanup in Title I. Like the IT department was not technically created, but we had a director for a department. And so we also were trying to clean that up. And then even though that there was a section in the city code entitled city departments, there was one other section that created the Parks and Rec Department, and then in a different section, the Personnel Department was created. And so we are trying to clean that up and put all the city departments under one chapter. So,
All right, second one?
So just for some clarification on section one. So I believe it was during that time that we kind of also changed the structure of our government, where we went from our standard mayor position to a strong mayor position. So the mayor kind of took on some of the roles of the city administrator, and that's why that position has not been filled. Is that correct?
I think Mark might be able to speak to that a little bit more.
Historically, the city operated under a three-person city commission. The mayor was actually a commissioner of public safety, and that position was designated as mayor. Then the voters approved, and that city commission created the city administrator position. So the three city commissioners created the city administrator position and hired, I believe, Gary Tomzik as the first city administrator. Then there was a change in the mayor, and Rich Brinkman was brought on as city administrator. Then the voters voted to move to the mayor-council form of government. And in doing so, Mr. Brinkman remained as city administrator to a time until he voluntarily took another position. And at that time, the mayor proposed and the council approved creating or designating the executive services director position, and not a city administrator. And that position was held by Allison Williams.
So fundamentally, at that time, the mayor became a strong mayor position, and Allison Williams became the executive director, and we've run under that form of government since that time. Correct?
I have a different perspective. Fundamentally, the position changed, approved by the voters to go to a mayor-council form of government, which is colloquially known as strong mayor, but it's a mayor-council form of government as opposed to a council-manager form of government. That's when the change occurred.
Okay. But we've run under that operation for a number of years now. And basically what Title I, these changes to Title I is going to change that slightly so that the mayor has less duties and the city administrator would have more duties than the executive director does now. Is that correct?
Currently, the executive services director duties are not outlined in the city code in any shape or form. They're randomly kind of tickled through the city code saying the executive services director shall do this, the executive services shall do that, but there's not one code like it has for the city administrator. It says this person will do these things. When reviewing some of the job descriptions, there's also, I don't believe, a job description located for the executive services director. So we're trying to become more transparent in terms of what that person that is in that high level of government will be doing. And that person in the higher level government, currently titled Executive Services Director, will be now titled City Administrator. 70% of the duties performed by the City Administrator, when talking with Laura and the mayor, are already performed by Laura. So she would just be taking on a few of those daily activities that the mayor currently does. But in terms of a huge structure change, it's not there.
Yeah, we're still operating under the strong mayor form of government. The mayor has the final say in all of those
Correct.
sorts of issues. All we're really doing is changing internally how we operate and adding one level and moving someone around. So it doesn't change our form of government. It doesn't change anything. It's just an internal, how do we do our day-to-day business?
Correct.
The point of clarification I'm looking for here is we've run under what we're running now for several years. And now, as we're getting ready to change the mayor's position, now all of a sudden we're changing Title I, and the mayor's position is going to change a little bit, therefore looking at a reduction in pay because of those duties that are going to go away. And I'm wondering why we're doing this now instead of years ago, if this is a needed thing that needs to be done.
So I just want to do one point of clarification. Since I have been acting as an assistant city attorney since 2000, through now the appointed city attorney today, the director position has changed over time. It hasn't been that same type of department level. We used to have a director of community development. We used to have another director of planning. There's been changes at that director level throughout my tenure as representing the city.
Director of Economic Development. We didn't have an HR
Correct.
director for years. Yeah.
Correct. So it's not necessarily that we've had a stagnant type of department level category. It has evolved over time, and some of those evolutions created a duplicative role between the city administrator and executive services director. So we're just trying to become more efficient, is my understanding. The mayor just wants to become more efficient and have one person perform those functions and have that outlined in the city code.
So what I would suggest is that you go ahead and finish up the second one and the third one, and then we can get to some of the questions that apply to all of them. Keith had one as to why today. I think you've got a number of other council members that have questions. I just don't want to start answering questions now. And let's get through numbers 2 and 3, and then we can have a full discussion of the merits of all of those.
So ordinance 2023-13 deals with the mayor's salary. Currently, the mayor makes a little over $10,000 a month. Because of some of those day-to-day duties are going to be reduced and be covered by the city administrator. The ordinance does change the mayor's salary to $8,500. And it will be effective come the new term. By statute, the mayor's salary cannot be reduced in the middle of a term. So that's why it's effective on January 1. The next ordinance, 2023-14, is some more cleanup. So for Mayor Pro Tem, it says that you guys will appoint a Mayor Pro Tem one time a year. From my review of being here, sometimes you guys do it on different days. So this will allow you to periodically appoint a Mayor Pro Tem. The periodic language is allowed by statute. That -14 ordinance also gets rid of a little section in the regarding city council members' salary because of now the salary commission. It also cleans up what the council committees are called. Council Committee Public Services Committee will now be formally within the city code. And lastly, it outlines the order of business that the council currently takes. Currently, the code says you guys will do the consent agenda, then public comment. Now, you guys do public comment and then the consent agenda. So we're cleaning that up also. That's a lot of Title I stuff, shall we say.
And the stuff related to council confirming appointments or confirming terminations, which, is that in one of the first couple motions?
That's in the first one for 2023-12,
Okay.
where it talks about the appointment of,
Could you just talk about that briefly, just so that the council's aware of all of that?
yeah, so by statute, the statute allows city council to have the power of confirmation of appointment of certain key employees, those being the department heads.
And that's been in our city code for a long, long time.
That's been in the city code for a long, long time. Now, the city code would be amended to where if the mayor wants to terminate one of those key employees, which would be the department heads, city attorney, city clerk, and the city administrator, the city council would need to confirm that removal. So you would confirm the appointment and you would confirm the removal. The mayor would retain the right to remove any other type of employee, though, just not those key ones that are outlined in the code.
All right. So thanks, Danielle, for the recap. So I guess, I think I'll tee it off first, because I was the one that asked Danielle to do this. So I have sort of a number of thoughts, and I think they sort of go along a line of sort of getting to timing. I had this discussion with most of you probably 18 months ago or so when we talked about making the city administrator a position, appointing Laura to that spot, and making corresponding changes. So that is not new to any of us. Those conversations happened a long, long time ago. Some of you were more inclined to pull the trigger then, some not. I think Travis basically told me about 3 years ago we should do this, and I think he thinks I'm stupid for not doing it 3 years ago. And he's probably right. Councilmember Kulas, I think similarly, this is probably long overdue for a city our size in complication. And so when you look at how, not everyone gets to sit in this seat, and so it's complicated making decisions. And you think about, we have a police department that works in this silo, and we have public works that works in this silo, and you have finance over here and HR and their legal team. And there's really only one person who gets to put all that together and figure out what the hell's going on. And right now, that's the mayor. Even the executive services director under our code does not have the authority to see all the things that I get to see. And so I think two heads are better than one. And I think having a city administrator in a position to understand and know all of those things, and then when decision-making happens, there are two people having a full knowledge of everything, and the mayor makes the final decision, which is really no different than the way it is today, other than there's just a lot more help. So I look at that and say, that's something that's well overdue, probably should have happened years ago in our form of government. And we're running a $140 million business here with 190 employees, and there's a lot that goes on. With respect to, I guess the other sort of major issue there is this idea of council's confirmation on both sides. And you've always confirmed appointments. We just haven't had any in so dang long you all forgot. I can't remember who we confirmed last, if it was Laura or Rob, but it's not that often that our department heads leave us. And so I can't remember the last time we hired one. And so you're not used to the fact that you've actually have that confirmation power, and we've confirmed them all. So asking for confirmation on the other side, I think, quite frankly, sort of fits where we're at as a city. And I think if the mayor can't make a compelling argument to a majority of the council that a change needs to be made, then I think that's something that is fine and I think should be put in. I would also add, I think to some degree, both of those, although the second one, the council confirmation on both firings and hirings, is one that maybe goes away at some point. Maybe a couple of years from now, you look at that and go, yeah, that's not needed. But I think for today, I think for what we're doing as a city, when we're talking about Confluence Parkway and Reimagine Wenatchee and a new YMCA and a new museum and Widener Building and South Wenatchee, they've got 8 zillion things going on. I think continuity is important, and I think this is one of the ways you can get continuity. I have a friend of mine who's helping run someone who's running for the mayor of Edmonds, and the current mayor of Edmonds has made 11 department head changes in 3.5 years. So it can happen. And so Keith, those are my reasons for wanting this. This is the reasons why I asked Danielle 6 weeks ago or so to draft this. I think those are the reasons why I think this is super important to our city going forward. And so I will stick with that. I know Mark has some comments and Travis, and I think everybody probably wants to say a little bit. So Mark, maybe we'll just start with you and go left to right.
Well, do we want to put a motion on the floor to discuss, or?
Yeah, I'm certainly fine however you want to do it. There's multiple motions there, so I
think number one is the core.
okay.
Yeah, but I really think a lot of discussion needs to happen before that, because it's too many things wrapped into one, in my opinion. You're right, we have kind of loosely talked about this. We've had difference of opinions for quite some time, and I think my problem with it is the timing of when this is happening. I look at it as we have two people running for the mayor position based on what the mayor's position was when they applied or put their name in the hat to run as mayor. And now, at the last minute, we're telling them the job title that you've spent a lot of money trying to obtain is now changing, so that when you get there, you're going to have less power, you're going to make less money, and things are going to be different, and you can't let somebody go. Now it has to be done through council, which I also disagree with. I think that makes it a more public process. I think the best example I can give of that is Allison Williams with the city of Moses Lake. The fact that the council of Moses Lake asked for her resignation instead of happening between the mayor and Allison Williams made it a very public process, which is going to damage that person going forward. Too much secrecy about what happened and everything else, but it got made very, very, very public. So I think there's too many things wrapped into one decision to go forward with it.
So are we going to follow a convention where we all get one shot at speaking, or are we going to have?
So, Mark, I agree
Back
with
and
you.
forth.
Under Robert's Rules of Orders, we really should have a motion and a second, and we should have discussion, and if it fails, it fails. Yeah.
So I would make a motion for the city council to approve ordinance number 2023-12 relating to city personnel and departments by amending sections 10.6.060, 1.10.020, 1.36.020, 1.36.060, 5.104.040, 040 of the Wenatchee City Code, and chapters 1.07, 1.08, and 1.11 of the Wenatchee City Code, renaming chapter 1.12 of the Wenatchee City Code, and repealing sections .12, 1.12.020, 1.12030, 1.12040, 1.12050, and 1.12.400 of the Wenatchee City Code.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Kulas, second by Councilmember Hornby, to approve ordinance number 2023-12 relating to city personnel and departments by amending sections 1.060, 1.10.020, 1.36.020, 1.36.060, 5.104.04 of the Wenatchee City Code, and chapters 1.07, 1.08, and 1.11 of the Wenatchee City Code, renaming chapter 1.12 of the Wenatchee City Code, and repealing sections 1.12.020, 1.12.030, 1.12.040, 1.12.050, and 1.12.400 of the Wenatchee City Code.
So I'll take the prerogative as the person who made the motion to speak first.
Perfect.
I'd rather speak last. First, we changed the form of government in the city beginning in 1999. I believe the mayor and I were first elected to the council in the 2003 election.
Yeah, you were ahead of, yeah, that's right, yep.
That was after the council had essentially existed for the council form had existed for 4 years. Councilmember Huffaker mentioned that Moses Lake says we need to be certain that we understand that Moses Lake's form of city government is different than ours. It is a council manager. It's a whole different soup. I've been advocating for the city administrator since the executive service director position was created. This is not a small city. This is 35,000 people with a multi-million dollar budget and deserves some measure of professional management. Whether I've liked it or not, over the years, I've become kind of a student of local government functions, local government dysfunctions, local government structures. City administrator is a pretty common setup. I mean, the city of Leavenworth has a city administrator. The city of Chelan has a city administrator.
And all have strong mayors.
And it's all mayor council form of government. And so it isn't new to me. I've been chipping at the mayor for 12 years about taking a look at this in particular section. That seems to be kind of the conversation. I would say also with the if the council is accepting the responsibility of confirming appointments to directors' positions, it probably should also have the same in the reverse. Honestly, this is not new to me. I think it's time to move on and put us back to where we were. Our loss of the city administrator when they first moved to the council, prior to that, I think really set us back in the formation as a council. Anyway, I support this.
Travis, should we just go left to right here?
I'm not a steward of government, like, student, but, I support this. We can go back and forth, but I support this.
Pop, you want to go next?
Yeah, well, first, I'll be voting yes. I mean, I strongly feel that Laura should be appointed to city administrator. And timing aside, I feel less strongly about, the changes to the salary. I don't think the mayor's going to be doing anything less. I think everything's just growing. So the new mayor will have plenty of challenges and more things to do. Also, I feel less strongly about the change in the role of the city council with having say on the firings. But timing aside, right now, I think these ordinances need to pass, and they're going to benefit the city. So, yeah.
Linda, let's go to you, and then we'll work our way back.
Okay, I feel very strongly that we should have the city administrator position, simply because I feel like it creates a lot of efficiencies in our government that maybe we aren't currently having. I see a lot of pressure and a lot of work on the mayor for handling the day-to-day operations that could be definitely passed off to her. And I think that would be a good thing. This doesn't lighten the load on the mayor. What it does is it frees him up to do what is most important, like the lobbying that we need done in Olympia, the various organizations that he should be involved in. All of those things that are really important for the big picture that I'm sure you struggle keeping up with all of it. It's a lot. So I think this would be a very great great thing to do. And also, it doesn't take any power away from the mayor. I read through this proposal 3 times and I'm like, I don't see where the mayor's power is being cut. What I see is that it's creating a lot of efficiencies and that the mayor is freed up to do what he really should be doing, which is looking out for the big picture. Regarding the confirmation of firing and hiring, I really think we should have that opportunity to approve if someone's going to be fired. I'll use my career as an example. Before someone is fired, there's a lot of coaching and counseling that goes on. I'm sure there would be here too, but it's reviewed not only by my superior, but my CEO and along with the HR. So I think those just put a lot of protection in place for the mayor to protect him or her from lawsuits for as far as employment security and things like that. That's my stance.
Thanks, Linda. Jose?
Everybody spoke what I was gonna say. I concur with you guys. I do agree. We should have this done before, Mayor, like you spoke to us last year about it. We do have a professional, we do have a great leader who can achieve this new role coming up. What I don't like is that the mayor's got their salary reduced. I mean, the way inflation is going, I believe, like Linda mentioned, the mayor's not doing anything less. It's still doing the same or even more. I think the salary should still stay the same or increased. I don't know. But other than that, I agree with all this.
What I would tell you is, I won't be sitting here next January, and a number of you will be, and if you choose to adjust the mayor's salary accordingly next January, you guys have the legal authority to do that. Mr. Poyer, you wish to address the group?
Sure. I always have to think what's best for our community, our city, and that's what I always have to take on my mind. And Rufus mentioned earlier, make it a community that's a better place. And we do need stability and professionalism. I would assume that you can fire the same second if it has to do with cause, that you don't have to go through another process. Is that a correct statement? That's one of my questions for you, Danielle.
This would be for cause or without cause, that the appointed employees, if the mayor wants to remove them, would also have to be, the removal would be confirmed by the city council.
For cause, somebody steals $1 million and we're gonna have to pay him 4 months
No.
wages.
You're
Okay,
getting-
am
you're
I confused?
Yes.
Okay, so help me
We're
out.
not talking about the severance packages.
Okay,
We're talking about if the mayor wants to terminate somebody.
Terminate.
For cause,
okay.
they have to go to the city council and say, Brad stole $1 million, I think he should be fired, and I'm assuming that the council would approve that, right?
Yeah.
So that,
Different.
yeah, that's different than the employment contracts, which we'll deal with later.
City
Which
council
also
can
have
fire him that
Yeah.
day.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brad.
I would also say we could put Brad on admin leave during the
Okay,
investigation too.
I just want to.
Without city council approval, the mayor can do that on their own.
Yeah.
The
Say
timing.
that again. Say that again.
If there's a for cause basis, that the mayor believes that there's an issue regarding the employee, that the mayor has the power to put that employee on administrative leave while an investigation occurs.
Perfect.
And that does not need city council approval.
Okay.
I do, I don't care about the salary, as whoever ends up being the mayor, but I do believe the responsibility, there's so much more going on that the next mayor obviously needs to make it a full-time job plus, because of all the other things that's happening in our city that they need to be responsible for. So I see that as a positive thing. It is a lot of information. And then I'm going to go back, what's best for our community, and I want stability, and we want to continue good things.
All right, so Keith, we'll give you the opportunity to wrap up, and then we'll have a vote. So I know you mentioned some stuff earlier, but if you want to add some more things to that, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess, again, I don't see a real big problem with the city administrator. I just don't like the timing of this, again, because the mayor's position is now being changed for two candidates that are running for that position. And then I really don't think that the council having to approve we already have the authority to approve the appointment of, but now the reversal of I don't think those two items should be tied together in under one vote. And again, my only thing I really don't like about the city council having to approve it is it makes it a very public process. And depending on what the cause for, it now makes it a public thing instead of a private matter.
In a lot of ways, they could still be
So
private.
I am.
Yeah. Handled correctly,
Yeah,
they could still
I
be
am
private
opposed to
matters.
having
Yeah.
them together.
All right, so we do have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. We've had discussion. This is only one of three motions before we move on to the next item. But, so with respect to motion one, I guess I'll call for the question. So all those in favor of adoption indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Motion two is regarding the salary of the mayor. And again, my comment on this would be, I think it's the right thing to do now. If you choose to change it next year, once you get going, you guys have the right to do that. But I think in terms of our budgeting right now, I think this is budget neutral, and I am fine with this adoption.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion for the city council to approve ordinance number 2023-13, amending section 1.06.040 of the Wenatchee City Code related to the salary of the mayor.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion on this one? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 And the last motion is regarding administration functions of the council. So it's motion number 3. So I would entertain a motion for ordinance 2023-14.
Your Honor, I move to adopt ordinance number 2023-14, amending sections of 1.04.020 and 1.07.060 and 1.07.080 and repealing section 1.06.030 of the Wenatchee City Code relating to administrative functions of the City Council.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Harrell, second by Councilmember Hornby, to approve ordinance 2023-14, amending sections 1.06.020, 1.07.060, and 1.07.080, and repealing section 1.06.030 of the Wenatchee City Code relating to administrative functions of the City Council. Any discussion regarding this ordinance?
I like this. I like it when we clarify, clear up, and correct, and have those chances.
Don't get them very often, do we? Danielle worked a couple Saturdays on these, so she needs an award.
Did you find any Wenatchee City Commission comments in this
Oh, yeah.
section? I mean, there's just peppered throughout the.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
All right, all those in favor of ordinance 2023-14, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And last, tell us about employment agreements, Danielle.
So for the director positions and the city administrator position, there is a proposal to have employment agreements. It does not change their at-will status. It's an at-will employment agreement, which allows the employee to terminate or separate at any time, and also allows the city to separate at any time. The one thing that this does do is it does provide a built-in severance package if the city terminates without cause. But there is also a condition for that severance package, which they would have to sign a release before they are provided a severance payment. And that severance payment would be equal to 4 months of pay.
And in your history, what do you see for these for other cities in terms of length of severance agreements?
It's more than 4 months.
Okay. So I think Rob mentioned Kirkland has 3 months. You've seen others with 6 months.
And some up to a year.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
They have it to recruit people for the most part?
You know, I don't know. I'm not generally involved in that part, so I don't know. There's some cities that have it tied to length of service. So, I mean, there's all sorts of different ways to do it.
Yet it's not uncommon.
It is not uncommon. No, not for the key employees at the higher levels.
All right, any questions for Danielle? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion for the city council to approve ordinance number 2000. Geez, wait a minute. Motion for the city council to approve employment agreements for the listed positions and authorize the mayor's signature. Director of Finance, Police Chief, Director of Public Works, Director of Community Development, Director of Human Resources, Director of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Services, Director of Information Technology, and City Administrator.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Kulas, second by Councilmember Hornby, to approve the employment agreements for the listed positions and authorize the mayor's signature, that being the Director of Finance, the Police Chief, Director of Public Works, Director of Community Development, Director of Human Resources, Director of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Services, Director of Information Technology, and the City Administrator. Any discussion?
So normally I sit on the far left, so I'll start from the far left. My only problem with this is that this is the public's money, and I think I liken it to big CEOs getting a golden parachute. They can do a bad job and, you know, maybe not be fired for cause or anything else, but be let go and they get 4 months pay for that with the public's money. And again, the other problem I have with this is the timing of it. Why is it needed now instead of 10, 12 years ago?
All right, any other comments from anybody?
Can I just respond? This, in some ways, the employment agreements actually protect the city. Because if the city doesn't want to go down a route of terminating for cause and enter into litigation, it allows a termination without cause and a set amount payment where you essentially buy out their rights in the contract or in their employment. So there's a flip side also, that these types of employment agreements actually do have an aspect of protecting the city from liability.
They're going to sign some type of release to be
Yeah.
able to get any money, correct? Yeah.
But currently they're at-will employees, so therefore there is no contract or anything binding that they would sue over. Is that correct? If we're an at-will employee?
No, an at-will employee still has the ability to sue for wrongful termination, discrimination, and other types of things. And then you would enter into that negotiation process to try to buy them out, buy their claim out, so to speak. So this is already built into the employment agreement, and this is an at-will employment agreement. So the at-will nature of the director's and the city administrator's position does not change with this employment agreement.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just going to make a comment from my side, from business. I have, at one time, 30 employees, and I'd much rather have something signed that protected me for down the road, because it can come back and for a while, for a few years, I think, up to 2 years maybe. something like
2
that.
years under federal,
Yeah,
3 years
federal,
under state.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it is a protection to the city. It can be a protection to the city.
Correct.
All right, any more comments? All right, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Danielle, thank you for all your hard work on this.
Thank you.
All right, we still good? 5 minutes?
Considering what we have, could we
Yeah.
just do 5 minutes?
All right, we'll take a quick 5-minute recess. We'll reconvene at 7:12. Yeah, I mean, it's hard when none of
unknown participant is now exiting.
All right. Good evening, everybody. We are back. It is 7:12 PM, and we'll continue our Wenatchee City Council meeting. Our next item on our agenda tonight is a public hearing regarding the Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan. And this will be presented by Stephen Neuenschwander, because you don't look like Glenn DeVries.
No, Glenn is out today, but thank you, Mayor, Council, Steve Neuenschwander, Planning Manager. So this is the second time you've actually heard this due to a procedural error, one of the federal government, and they have a lot of hoops to jump through, and we missed one, and so here we are again this evening. Nothing has changed from what was presented to you in August. The allocation remains the same, the carryover. We have approximately $687,000 in our CDBG fund. We're working with Public Works to expend those. Some of the project you heard this evening on the sidewalk panels, our CDBG dollars are going towards that to help some of those projects. So we are chipping away at that fund, and happy to answer any questions that you have this evening. If not, then that's all I have for you.
Any questions for Stephen? Any member of the audience wish to address the City Council on this public hearing item? Seeing none, I will turn it over to the council for any action they may be willing to take.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion for City Council to adopt the 2023 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan and authorize the mayor to sign associated assurances, certifications, and contracts necessary for implementing the 2023 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Ojanastati and second by Councilmember Cuevas for the City Council to adopt the 2023 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan, authorize the mayor to sign associated assurances, certifications, contracts necessary for implementing the 2023 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan. So I will just make a comment for those that are still here. This is something we reviewed in depth about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So this is just the final part of that process. That being said, any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Presentations, Mr. Posenjack, preliminary 2024 budget.
Look at that, it's up there. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Here to give you an overview of the 2024 preliminary budget. And I want to say that any references to $1 million is purely coincidental. There are no missing funds. So as part of the 2024 budget process, it started back in July. in the finance department, we estimate revenues, salaries, benefits, all of those things. We roll them out to the budget departments and then, we roll them out to the departments so that they can work on their budgets. And then Finance Committee reviews the draft budget, and just 2 weeks ago tentatively approved several one-time budget requests and some recurring budget requests. After that meeting, we send out this proposed preliminary budget, which is what we're going to look at tonight. And then, I got to click too many times. Then the next steps will be on November 1st, or actually by the end of October, we'll send out the preliminary budget, which will basically be the final budget form. And then on November 9th, I'll be back here to bore you once again with a little bit of budget information, so that on November 16th, when I come to ask you to adopt the final budget, pretty much everything will be worked out and it will be an easy discussion. So we start off, we always look at the general fund and focus on that the most. We do have 38 funds that we are adopting budgets for. None of them are as large and as tax heavy as the general fund is. So that's why we focus on that one. At the very high level, we're looking at budgeting revenues at 10% over what the 2023 budget was. The 2023 budget, I believe, we built the revenues, we thought we were being a little bit aggressive, but it turns out we were very conservative in our estimates for revenue for 2023, and we'll probably beat that by 5 or 6%. And so for 2024, we're going to add another few percent expected growth on that. So that's why it looks like it's a huge growth, but it really has to do with the conservative 2023 and then trying to be a realistic 2024. Expenses, they look flat. The reason overall expenses look flat is because we are not doing as many one-time commitments out of the general fund this year, and we'll see that on the next couple slides. The thing you'll notice is on our overall budget, we are, I'm not going to say $1 million short. We're 900,000 over our expenses over revenues. But the way that our budget is built, our revenues are still conservative, and we will probably beat revenues by $1 million, and our expenses, we legally can't exceed those, so we'll probably come close to $1 million under that. So in a normal year, we'll probably end up growing by $1 million rather than the negative 900,000 that we show on here. If we have a mild recession like they talk about, I would imagine that this budget would have us break even. And I guess if we have a severe recession like we had back in 2008, 2009, maybe that would actually play out and we would lose 900,000, not $1 million. And we'd lose 900,000, and but our reserves are healthy enough that we'd be able to weather that fairly easily. So, as I mentioned, I haven't mentioned it tonight, but we break our general fund up into recurring expenses and revenues and non-recurring. The recurring is really it's salaries, benefits, it's our regular, just year-to-year supplies, services that we always have, and they're not one-time special items. And so we really do try to budget to have our recurring revenues and recurring expenses match each other. And for all purposes, when you're talking 33 million estimates, and again, we typically exceed our revenues, we underspend our expenses. Having a budget that's built with a negative 181,000 is a break-even budget, and in all reality, we'll end up growing a little bit. Again, we show revenues year over year going up. Again, these are budget. When I say year over year, they're not the actuals for 2023 and 24, of course. Recurring expenses, that 6.4% increase, that's mostly made up of salary and benefit increases. They are going up by 3.5% is the cost of living increase that we're seeing. And then we've got certain interfund allocations that had to be adjusted this year that put a little bit more burden on the general fund instead of those other 37 funds that we have as well. And so that kind of creeps some of that up. If you want me to dive into interfund allocations, we can do that at another day. Non-recurring, these are our one-time requests that we refer to frequently. You can see in 2022, we actually budgeted for almost 4 million more in non-reoccurring, sorry, did I say reoccurring? I meant non-reoccurring, one time. So our non-reoccurring expenses have been budgeted quite high in the last couple of years because we have reserves. And so we are doing, we're doing projects and doing enhancing services that benefit the community. It's not just trying to spend down our fund balance for the sake of spending it down. It's being able to do quality projects. And so you can see 2022 budgeted 7.8 million, 2023 we budgeted 4.2, but that number through amendments has gone up already. So for 2024, we're only looking at budgeting 2.4 million, and some of that is actually grant funded, so we're not actually going to be down 2.4 million on that. That's where that negative 733 comes into play. So this year we are trying to get our budget a little closer to not spending down reserves. We need to, looking in the future, we've got some big projects coming up with the with the Confluence Parkway, and we just need to keep our reserves healthy. Maybe in a couple years we'll see that we're building our reserves faster and faster, and we can continue to do more one-time requests. But for now, we need to just kind of hold our breath until we see exactly what kind of cash flow needs we're going to have for the Confluence Parkway project. Earlier last week, you should have got an email from me that had some updated budget documents. And as I mentioned, 2 weeks ago at Finance Committee, they tentatively approved this list of one-time requests. That's that 2.4 million that we just saw. So, yeah, hopefully if you had any questions on those, you reached out. As we go through the budget summary that was in your packet, I'm not going to go through every single change for you tonight. I've already had a long night, but I did want to kind of highlight a few things. Just when you go through the different departments and you see the 3, 4, 5% increase over the last year, those are normal salary, just cost of living type increases. But then you might see changes that are a bit larger that you may have questions on, and I feel like you're owed an explanation to that. One example is in the engineering department. There was a position, and you can actually see the offset in Parks and Rec. There was one engineering position that was moved from the Parks department up to the engineering department. So some of that's an offset. Another reason engineering's budget looks like it goes up, well, is going up more than that regular 4 or 5%. Again, goes back to interfund allocations. In the past, we've charged engineering positions directly to other funds, to the utility funds. Well, things are changing in the focus of how engineering is working, especially with the Confluence Parkway project, that we're charging them all first to the general fund and then billing out. So you see the expense in the general fund, but our revenues are actually going up as well because now we're charging out the other funds. I'll stop talking about interfund allocations now. The legal, you'll see that is going up 18%. I know the mayor requested earlier that our contract with the city attorney be increased because they are putting in way more hours than we contracted for, and so they need to be fairly compensated for that. Again, talked about Parks and Rec, why theirs went down because a position got shifted. You'll see the museum, that contribution went up, and again, interfund allocation changes. Our facility maintenance, we've got that in a separate fund, and so they perform the maintenance on all the funds for all the departments in the city. Historically, the general fund has paid for all of the general fund share out of one department, out of Department 19. We decided to change that up to give a little bit more accurate depiction of which departments, which functions require that facility maintenance effort. And that is this is just a shift from Department 19 to the museum department to kind of show what they're using in facilities. The police budget, it looks like it's going up. A lot of that is related to, they had 4 positions added through the budget request process. 3 of the positions are for the new traffic enforcement unit that I think was approved on that previous slide. And that has mostly offsetting grant funds for the next 2 years. But the big reason that their budget's going up is because of new positions. The other position is in the records department. Again, those were on the budget requests. Parks ground maintenance. I'm trying to remember what that was for. Parks ground maintenance. They're again interfund allocations. Their equipment and vehicle rental rates were greatly adjusted, and so that actually is the biggest driver of the parks maintenance increase, is just an increase in the replacement cost for their equipment. Those are kind of the highlights of the general fund changes. The other funds, I'm not going to go through all of those and the different changes in those. As you'll notice on the summary, I don't have the percentage changes along those ones because a lot of them are capital projects driven, and you would see 1,000% increase and 100% decrease kind of from one year to the next, because when Arterial Street Fund 109 has, if they've got $5 million of projects one year and then they do $1 million projects the next, it really doesn't paint an accurate picture to throw the percentages next to it. But if you've got any questions on those, changes in capital project budgets and changes to the interfund allocations are the explanation to almost any of those. So if you want further detail, come by my office and we can chat. Overall, the long-term projection of the general fund, as you'll see in 2020 and 2021, our expenses were down. Most of this is because during the COVID pandemic, one, either we couldn't actually get stuff done, and two, we tried to be a little more conservative because we weren't sure what the future held. So our expenses did go down in those years. The revenues actually went up in 2021 and 22 because of the COVID funding that the coronavirus relief funds that we got. And so some of that one-time funding bumped up the revenues on that green line. The increase in expenses are those one-time requests that we talked about, because as you can see, our reserve in those 2021 and 2022, it grew quite a bit. And so we were able to increase our expenses. But now at the point where 2024 and moving forward, I'm wanting us to get our revenues and expenses back to matching each other, and then forecasting out with fairly conservative projections. We are actually looking ahead to being in a good position for the next 10 years. So, yeah, I think that's all I had. Oh, what's next? There will be a few revisions between this current version and what you see at the end of October, but then we'll review it again on November 9th, and I'll promise I'll just try to talk about the changes. Actually, sorry, I lied. We won't look at the entire budget book, but we'll have the budget document that we'll put out to the public, and that will be, and for your use. And I'll do a kind of a quick overview of that, but we won't get into the weeds too much on that. And hopefully you won't have been here till 7:15 already. Then we'll adopt the final budget on November 16th, and that is that. Any questions?
So just quickly, Chief, I know you're over there, so we've got the 2 new officers, half a sergeant and a records clerk, or some form of that? Yep. Okay, so that's really the only positions that we've added, all 3 in our police department. Because I think we recognize what the community recognizes in terms of.
Does this make our police department fully staffed now?
Well, we're at 44 of 45. We were at 45 and 45 for 2 weeks and had a retirement.
But you've also got some good laterals you're looking at, so you sort of feel like, I know we've really struggled with trying to add on, but you sort of feel like you can get these 2 positions and the backfills and get us to 47 at some point.
Get that rectified by February.
Okay, before somebody else retires?
That's great.
Yeah. All right, any questions for Brad?
Nope.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mayor's report. I will give you one in 2 weeks because I'm tired. Council members, anything for the good of the order?
We had our homeless task force meeting, the Columbia River Homeless Task Force, and we approved the budget for next year, and it's up, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the amount, but it's because we are adding case management administrator or someone to basically be there to meet and greet professional services when people come in, and also security along with additional custodial staffing, simply because when we do put the pallet shelters in, there'll be a lot more custodial needs. And I don't know that the pallet shelters are gonna be in this fall because there are some parts that they have to.
Working on as fast
Yeah.
as they can, yeah.
So
Jose,
it's,
anything to add?
Yes, I have 2 events happening next week. One of them is I got invited to Wenatchee High School to be a guest speaker for the senior class. That's going to be great to speak in front of the classroom. And Thursday, we have Public Safety Council.
So we do have the little Rotary event tomorrow for the pickleball courts.
Yep.
And then the YMCA is having a sort of unveiling party next Thursday, the 19th, at I think 5:30 at Pybus. Want to make sure you all have that on your calendars if you decide you want to go. Anything else?
one more.
Yeah.
Misawa has, it has been decided by the powers that be over in Japan, in Misawa, that we will have our visit in October next year.
Okay. We're going there in October.
Hmm?
We're going there in October. And they're
Yes.
coming here in May.
Probably for Apple Blossom.
Okay. All right. With that, we are adjourned.